If you dropped every American into the same sized box, some states would feel like a packed elevator, and others would feel like you missed humanity entirely. What's strange is that these places aren't disasters, they aren't abandoned, and they aren't forgotten by accident. They're empty on purpose. We're exploring the emptiest states in America, why they look abandoned from the outside. Alaska. The state that punishes curiosity. It's empty by design, climate, and consequence. This is the largest state in the country, so large that maps shrink it out of politeness. Yet it has fewer residents than many American cities, which means most of Alaska isn't something you visit, it's something you survive long enough to understand. Population density drops to about 1 person per square mile, but that stat hides the real story, because most of the population lives in a handful of hubs, while the rest of the state exists without roads, grocery chains, or any illusion of convenience. Nearly 80% of Alaska has no road access at all, meaning your Amazon Prime expectations quietly die the first winter. Food arrives by plane, fuel prices fluctuate with weather, healthcare becomes a logistical puzzle, not an appointment. Alaska tried money. It pays residents every year through the Permanent Fund. Alaska doesn't scare people away. It simply asks a question most Americans don't want to answer. How much inconvenience are you willing to accept for freedom? Most people decide the answer is less than Alaska requires. And strangely enough, the next emptiest state proves you don't need blizzards to feel isolated. Wyoming. The state that forgot to densify. With fewer than 600,000 residents spread across nearly 100,000 square miles, Wyoming doesn't feel empty so much as unfinished, like the land was prepared for millions who never arrived. Ranching defined settlement here, and ranching requires land, not neighbors, which naturally capped population density long before modern life made density fashionable. Later came coal, oil, and gas, industries that once employed armies and now operate with machines, skeleton crews, and long commutes. Jobs exist, but narrowly. Energy, tourism, agriculture. Outside those lanes, opportunity thins fast. And young people don't leave dramatically. They leave pragmatically, for college, for healthcare access, for basic convenience, basically futures. It's not hostile, it's indifferent, and indifference is often enough to empty a place quietly. Just north, that indifference turns scenic, colder, and far more deceptive. Montana. The beautiful lie. Montana looks full from a distance. That's the trick. Mountains, rivers, open sky, and towns that photograph beautifully enough to convince people they've found the answer to modern burnout. But living here exposes the fine print very quickly. Much of Montana's land is public, protected, or mountainous, which limits development and funnels people into a few growing towns, while the rest of the state operates on thin margins left behind by industries that automated decades ago. Mining towns faded, railroads moved on, agriculture consolidated. What remains is space, beauty, and long winters that don't care about your aesthetic preferences. Wages outside a few hotspots struggle to keep up, while housing prices rise as newcomers arrive with money earned somewhere else. Healthcare access becomes regional, airports are distant. North Dakota. The state built for temporary people. North Dakota knows how to boom. It just doesn't know how to keep people afterward. Oil rushes in. Workers follow. Housing strains. Towns explode with urgency, traffic, and cash. Then prices drop. Rigs shut down, and the population drains out faster than it arrived, leaving behind oversized roads, empty buildings, and stories about how busy it used to be. Population density sits around 11 people per square mile, but that number disguises how empty the space between towns really feels, where prairie stretches endlessly and wind fills the silence agriculture once occupied. Farming consolidated years ago, reducing the need for labor, families, and schools. Man camps rise during booms and vanish afterward, reinforcing the lesson that growth here is often borrowed time. Young residents understand early that staying means accepting limits, leaving means options. North Dakota didn't fail to grow, it just never translated extraction into permanence. And just south, the same pattern slows down and ages quietly. South Dakota. The slow exit. South Dakota doesn't collapse. It fades. Outside Sioux Falls and Rapid City, entire counties operate with frontier-level population numbers, where ranches replace neighborhoods, and basic services require planning, patience, and long drives. The economy remains narrow. Agriculture, tourism, regional services. Healthcare access often means travel. Higher education often means leaving. And once people leave, returning means accepting fewer options than before. Railroad towns hollowed out when trains stopped needing them. Mechanized farming reduced labor decades ago. Native reservations face chronic underinvestment, compounding a cycle where opportunity leaks outward faster than it can be replaced. This isn't abandonment, it's erosion. Each decade removes a little more population, a few more services, and another reason for the next generation to choose somewhere else. And further southwest, the emptiness takes on a different shape entirely. New Mexico, where geography wins. New Mexico didn't empty accidentally. Geography made the first move. High desert, mountains, and limited water naturally restrict where people can cluster, forcing population into a few metros while leaving vast regions lightly inhabited. Despite having over 2 million residents, population density remains low because opportunity rarely spreads beyond Albuquerque, Santa Fe, federal labs, and energy hubs. Rural schools struggle, hospitals stretch thin, infrastructure investment lags. As people leave, tax bases shrink, making it harder to maintain services, which pushes even more people out. It's a feedback loop that doesn't require disaster, just time. New Mexico didn't fail to modernize. Modernization simply didn't include most of it. And north of there, emptiness doesn't disappear, it reorganizes. Idaho. Growth that skipped the state. Idaho is growing, just not everywhere. Boise and a few cities absorb most of the newcomers fleeing higher-cost states, while rural regions remain sparsely populated, underserved, and increasingly expensive relative to wages. Mountains, forests, and remote valleys limit development naturally. Logging, mining, and agriculture modernized and shed jobs. What remains is imbalance. Some towns boom, others stagnate. Many locals get priced out of places they never left. Idaho didn't empty, it fractured. And when growth concentrates too tightly, emptiness doesn't vanish. It hardens around the edges. These states aren't forgotten. They're just waiting, in a country that learned how to live closer together, even while the land stayed wide open. And if you like exploring the places most people scroll past on the map, I'll keep finding the world's hidden corners. You just have to click subscribe to come along.